Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to walk you through part 5 of our buying a house activity today. And for anyone who's watching this on my YouTube channel who is not in my class, I'm going to be showing some things that are specific to my students. So please bear with me if you're actually watching this just for your own information. For my students, in order to find the digital version of the printout that I have here, you'll want to go to our actual course page. So on Edmodo Statistics S20, make sure you actually go to the classes and then select our class. Don't just stay in your stream feed because you're gonna have to scroll through a lot of things in order to find it. Now, if I scroll through this, on April 7th, I provided you guys with a sample work of all the work completed using a house listing that I had found. If you tap on that link, then this will open up and you can see that that's the same thing that you see here. Now the link to the listing, it's live in this document. That's why it's in blue. So if I click on this, I can open it. If it decides to play nicely. There we go. And it actually takes me to the Redfin site. Now, this home was $152,000. It's 2 beds, 1.5 baths, 1,052 square feet. My bad. Definitely not 152 square feet. That'd be way too small. Oop, turned on me. And you can see that that's where I got these details. Now it is in Naperville. And if I scroll through this, I see different price insights. So this is where I also got the HOA dues. Now many of you have asked me about HOA dues. The housing associations at condo places and townhome associations, they charge a fee. Now the reason they charge this fee is because they actually organize for snow removal on the property, they organize for some of the lawn service, they organize quite a few different things. Some of them actually provide trash service. It really depends on the housing association as to what your dues go towards, so you always want to look into that. Sometimes they'll pay for the electric and heating, cooling, water bill out of the HOA dues, but it depends on the group. You have to really look group by group. So for this one, my HOA dues were $257 each month. Now, that basically increases the amount that I have to pay each month for living there, above and beyond my mortgage. So that's an extra amount that I have to pay because I'm going with a townhome property instead of a standalone house. And you'll notice that I noted that here. You might have HOA dues that you have to take into account, you might not. Now, all these details, these different things, the amenities and features that I found, I didn't actually scroll through this part so much. As I scrolled down to here and I went to property details. Now, in Redfin, if you click on property details, it opens up all this information about the property. It tells you about the parking information, whether you have garage spaces, how many, whether it's attached or separate, how many other units, like how many units total are actually in the building. So there are 4 townhomes or condos that actually share this building. The manager is off-site, meaning he doesn't live in the complex. All right, so it might actually be kind of hard to get some help if you need it from the manager. Now, pets are allowed, both cats and dogs. For me, that's important because I have a cat. At some point, if this takes us too long, she might actually make an appearance, which is why this video is taking me so long to make. All right. Bedroom information. It tells you what floor it's on, so second level, so number of bedrooms above grade, 2 of them. There are only 2 bedrooms, so that means that both of them are above the first floor. Tells you the size. This is 16 feet by 11 feet. Tells you what kind of flooring. So carpet flooring. The second bedroom has wood laminate flooring. all the window treatments come with the sale of the house. Sometimes if they don't say that it's included, they'll take the blinds and the curtains and everything when they sell the house to you and they leave. They consider that still their property. So you always have to check what's actually coming with the physical structure. You can't assume anything. Be very careful with that in the future. All right. The bathroom details. Now, a full bath is one that has a tub or a shower, and allows you to go through all of the motions of getting clean. So using the restroom, taking a bath or a shower, having a sink, that's a full bath. Now, a half bath is when you just have the toilet, the sink, that's it. That's what a half bath or a quarter bath actually means. Now, the living room, 20 feet by 13 feet, that's decent size, and it's on the downstairs level. Because I have second floor for bedrooms and living rooms on the main level, I know this is a 2-story townhome. All right, kitchen information, the equipment, so oven, range, microwave, dishwasher, refrigerator, washer, dryer, disposal, all of these stay with the home because they're listing them. The heating and cooling, so gas heating, forced air heating, central air conditioning. The laundry is actually on the second floor, which would be a huge plus, not having to carry laundry baskets up and down the stairs. And one thing that I often look for when I go through the pictures, let me show you this. When I'm looking at homes, I always look at the kitchen because I like to cook with a gas range. I don't like electric ranges. A lot of the recipes that have been passed down through my family require you to be able to move what you're cooking on or off the heat, or be able to change the temperature underneath what you're cooking really quickly, which you can't really do with an electric range, but you can do with a gas range just by turning down the flame. And I can tell from this right here, this grating is typical of a gas range, which is what I'm looking for. Now, the fronts of these cabinets, I'm not as fond of white cabinetry, but this is something you could always change. So this is just details for future because we like to keep it real. So a lot of things can be changed. The size of the rooms, that's a little harder to change. But the fronts of your cabinets, I mean, I can unscrew these and change them out with a different cabinet front and change the look to all one type, one color of wood if I want to. I could also stain the drawers and the backs of these to basically make them the same color as well. I can change out the countertops. These are things that I can change later. Now, changing the layout of the kitchen, that's a lot more difficult. Whoops. And it decided to expand on me. Back. All right, I'm going to go back into this so that I can actually get back to what I was looking at. Sometimes that happens with iPads. I have no idea how to fix that, but, you know, when in doubt, close it out, restart it, you're all good. So I'm going to go back into these property details and just tell you a little bit more about the different things that you might have been looking at, just for your own information for later on, then we'll get to the math. So the heating and cooling, there's gas heating, it's forced air heating and central air conditioning. That's a good sign. You really don't want baseboard heating. Baseboard heating means that they installed electric heaters later and you have to plug them in. It's going to take a lot more electricity. And depending on your home, sometimes they can be a little bit, I don't know that they're really a fire hazard, but you could be in danger of burning yourself depending on the type that you get. At least that was my experience back when I was owning my own home. Now, it's in the 204 school district. The housing association dues, it includes water, common insurance, which means insurance on the building, not necessarily your townhome, but insurance on the physical structure itself, not your belongings. You need separate homeowners insurance for your belongings. All right, it includes exterior maintenance, so they're going to keep up the outside appearance of the building. Includes lawn care, so they're going to take care of the lawn. Includes scavengers, so basically trash removal. Includes snow removal. So that's what it includes. So it's nice that it would include water because that price has been increasing drastically in the last few years. I think my parents' water bill is quadrupled in the last 2 years. It's really extreme. And then financial information, the tax from 2018. Now, is it going to stay the same? Absolutely not. But it gives us a starting point. So that's where I got my estimated property tax, was down in here. This explains what the Homeowners Association, so HOA, Homeowners Association, that's what the O stands for, owners. It's the group of all the people who own condos or townhomes in the building complex. All right, and let's see, other special features, location information, tells you how long it's actually been on the market, etc. And then there are a bunch of other different things that you can look at as well. So, with that information, now you know where I was getting all this information. The 2-car garage comes with all the appliances, gas stove, central air. Central air is really important for me. The first home that I owned, I actually had central air in the main part of the house, but it was an old Victorian home in like central Indiana. And the top floor didn't really get much of the airflow in the summer, so we had to put a window air conditioning unit to kind of help out the central air during the summer. And moving that sucker in and out of one of those old wood-framed heavy windows to basically do winter prep for the house, so that I wouldn't just have like an open window with an air conditioning unit hanging out of it. The air conditioner would freeze and break. It was super heavy, and I really don't think I'd be able to do something like that on my own. I'm strong, but I don't trust a window to not come crashing down on my head. So, central air, very vital for me. As I said, I have a cat, so pets being allowed, specifically cats, is important to me. And then the HOA dues, staying under $300 a month, is important to me because this adds on to what I have to pay every month. That affects my budget, because that's that much more money that I can't spend on the house itself for the mortgage. I need to budget that and deduct that away from that mortgage payment so that I can actually afford things. So now let's take a look at the math that I ended up doing. Now, sadly, your original document, all of these symbols turned into question marks. I'm so sorry about that. I didn't even realize that had happened. So please take a moment, take a look at this. This is available on Edmodo, so you can see what the real formula actually is. And there are a whole bunch of different details here. So you need to find the current percentage rate for 15-year and 30-year fixed mortgage. Now, this changes daily. So when I was looking at it, it was 3.09% for a 15-year fixed mortgage and 3.74% for a 30-year fixed mortgage. Your percents are likely to be a little bit different depending on what day you actually start this project. So again, I'm going to go into that PDF and we're going to take a look at that site that pops up. So if instead of clicking up there, I look at current percentage, notice that it's in blue, it's underlined, that's probably a link. If my finger's not too cold to actually select it. There it goes. And if I scroll down a bit, there we go. So today's mortgage rates, you can see that back around the time that I was doing this, I actually started working on this on the first, so 3.74, 3.09, those were the numbers I was using. Now since then, the rates have actually dropped a bit. They dropped dramatically right here. This one's continued to drop, so I could probably actually get a slightly better deal with the mortgage now than I could even about a half a month ago. And these rates continue to change as you're going through the process of trying to buy the home. So you want to make sure that you're not going too close to your budget, because if the interest rates suddenly jump a little bit, you could end up just a little bit over your budget and having to eat ramen a few nights a week. Now, if you like ramen, that's great, but it has a lot of sodium. All right, so for Part B, right, now 0%, 10% down payments require 1% PMI. Now this is private mortgage insurance. So the bank makes you pay extra as insurance that you'll eventually pay off your loan if you don't put 20% down. Now 0% down, 10% down, anything below 20% down, basically, you're going to end up having to pay this 1% PMI. So in order to calculate that amount, you need to find 1% of the total amount you borrowed split over 12 months. All right, the amount borrowed is the price of the home minus the down payment. So whatever percent you're paying up front, that's what a down payment is. You put the money down on the table as you're buying the house. You basically subtract that down payment from the cost of the home or whatever you agree on to actually buy it. Most people don't just pay what's on the listing. They bargain back and forth. So this is kind of like a bargaining situation. And then the monthly mortgage payment calculated, you're using this formula. So this is your principal, so the amount of the mortgage, so the amount that you're borrowing, times R, which is the rate written as a decimal, but it's the monthly rate. So this is yearly. To turn this into monthly, you have to divide by 12, and then you have to take it out of percent form. So let's do that real quick. Let's actually just translate these. So I'm going to pull up my calculator here, and we're going to work through that real quick. So in order to turn these into monthly percentage rates instead of annual interest rates, we need to take 3.09. We have to divide it by 100 to resolve that percent sign, which gives us, let's see, 3.09. It should give us 0.0309. But I always suggest that you double check this in your calculator because when people start moving decimal points, they often overcount or undercount. It's an amazing phenomenon. Students who don't make any other mistakes often make a mistake with just that one piece, and messing up where your decimal is in this problem is going to really mess up your numbers. Now remember, this is annual. Annual means yearly. There are 12 months in a year, which is why I'm going to divide by 12. So if I take this number, divide by 12, I now have 0.002575. And I'm going to write down that whole thing because if you round this, you're likely to get different numbers. And the more your numbers are rounded, the less accurate your calculations. And if you're running really close to your budget, you might actually go over without realizing it and commit to something for 30 years that you literally cannot afford. That's just out of your reach. So be as exact as you can. It's in your best interests. Besides, we have calculators. They can handle all the numbers. Now for this one, same thing. We need to divide by 100. Gives us 0.0374, and then divide by 12. Whoops, 12, not 24. What am I doing? All right, double check this. Yes. And then 0.0374 divided by 12. So monthly, you would pay about 0.00311. I am going to round this to 7 because this is a decimal that would repeat forever and never actually end. All right, so I am going to cut off here. This is far enough out into the decimal that it's probably not going to affect the value as much. You could write it all the way out, the 66667, if you want to make it even more exact. And if I weren't doing this online, I would be using that number as exactly as I possibly could. All right, the monthly property tax is the estimated property tax split over 12 months. So remember my 3,810.48 from the first page. So this value right here, split over 12 months. Let's go ahead and do that part. Whatever we can do up front is going to make our lives easier later. There we go. So $317.54. So I pretty much need to budget that amount for property tax per month above and beyond my mortgage. And then this right here if I'm going through and let's say I'm putting 0% down, I'm just going to give you an example of how to fill in this formula. So my mortgage payment is going to be the full $152,000 that the house is going to cost times my monthly rate. Let's say I'm doing 0% down, 30-year fixed mortgage rate. So I'm going to use this 0.003117. Times 1 plus, again, my rate. I'm going to get to that exponent here in a minute. Now, this exponent, n, is the total number of payments. Now, if it's 30 years, and there are 12 months in a year, and this is a monthly mortgage payment, take 30 times 12, and you get 360 payments that you have to make over the lifetime of the mortgage to pay it off. That's your exponent. And calculations like this are one of the reasons that we invented Excel spreadsheet and why people invented calculators. No one wants to do this by hand. All right, 1 plus my rate again, so 0.003117. Don't forget your parentheses at all these places. They are vital. You leave off the parentheses, you're getting the whole thing wrong automatically. Parentheses help us to preserve our order of operations. You have to have those in there in order for this addition to take place before any other multiplication or anything else happens, such as the subtraction at the end, all right, this -1. So if we put all this into the calculator, literally typing this in exactly as it appears. Now this is the Graph and Calc 83 app that I suggested that you guys purchase for iPhones and iPads and things if you didn't have a calculator at home and if you couldn't get that Wabbit EMU simulator for an Android phone. All right, this thing works really, really well. So I'm going to start typing this in. So 152,000. Don't forget to double check the number of zeros. There are 3 zeros. There should be 3 zeros. I always check that before I move on. Open parentheses, and then this requires a fraction. Now to get the fraction, it's the same way you would on the calculators in the classroom. Alpha, all right, so alpha, and then y equals pulls up that fraction menu. And this first option gives you a numerator over denominator. That's why it reads n/d. All right, so for my numerator, I need to get all of this in there, including these other parentheses. So 0.003117. I need to open my parentheses just like it says here on my page. 1 plus, and then 0.003117, double checking that I have the right number of zeros, decimal points in the right place, right amount of ones. I did this at one point and had to completely redo my numbers because I left off one of the ones. I recommend double checking it. If your teacher can make that mistake, very easy for anyone else to make that mistake. Now the exponent button is this caret above the division sign. All right, that opens your exponent box. And then 360. And remember, this is for 30-year mortgage. 15-year mortgage would only be half this many payments. All right, I hit the right arrow to get out of that exponent spot. And now I need to go down to the bottom of this, to the denominator, and open fresh parentheses. All right, 1 plus 0.003117. Close my parentheses again to the 360th power, get out of the exponent, -1, then get out of the fraction, close your parentheses. All right, so all of this is going to happen in these parentheses before it gets multiplied onto the $152,000. Hit enter, and this is my monthly payment. Now this is mortgage alone. Remember, I still have to pay property taxes. I still have to pay my HOA fees. I still have to pay my own insurance. All of that adds up to your housing payment not just being $703 to being well over $1,000, in this case, over $1,200. All right, let me take you to the next page to look at that. So this is the work that I completed for the 0% down scenario, and we're going to take a look at some of the math here. Now, the price of the home, $152,000. I'm not putting any money down, which means that's the exact amount of my loan. That's my principal. I took you guys through finding these numbers a moment ago on that previous page. And then this is how those numbers get filled into these formulas respectively. Now, this 180, that's from 15 times 12 for 15 years, 12 monthly payments per year. 15 times 12 is 180. That's why that part changed. This part changed because the interest rate is different for a 15-year fixed mortgage compared to a 30-year fixed mortgage. All right, so those details R and N change depending on which mortgage you're looking at. And this is the $703.11 that we just saw on, whoops, couldn't see it on there, my bad, that we just saw on the previous page. The monthly property taxes, that was, what happened? Oh, wait a minute. How many of you have been yelling at me that I used the wrong number for my monthly property taxes as I was working through this? This is why you go through and you double check your work and you make sure that your numbers actually add up. This was not $3,810.48. It was $3,410.48. So this number right here changes. And let's just go ahead and double check the one that I have on my paper. So 3410.48 divided by 12. That's better. $284.21. And that matches now. All right, so always worth going back and double checking your work. See, even your teacher can make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes. The important thing is to learn from your mistakes and to learn what types of things you need to double check before you actually submit a final assignment and what kinds of things you can trust yourself with. For me, transferring numbers from other pages always messes me up. I always need to go back and double check that every number that I transferred was actually correct and that I didn't replace a different number, especially if I'm talking while I'm doing that, which every time I teach I am. So this kind of issue happens to me rather frequently, so I'm always double checking my work. Now, the monthly PMI amount. Back here on letter B, I told you how to calculate that. You had to take 1% of the total amount borrowed, and then you split it over 12 months. So 1%, all right, so 1%, to resolve that percent sign, remember the percent sign is basically the two zeros from the 100 and the line showing the division, because percent means divided by 100. So the division is shown by the slash and the out of 100 is shown by the two zeros here. So to resolve this percent sign, you have to divide by the 100, which allows you to remove the symbol because now the meaning is back in the number. That's where I'm getting this 0.01 that I'm multiplying that 152,000 by. Now this is the amount that I actually borrowed. Split over 12 months to split it out over the year gives me $126.67. Now, let me just double check that real quick. Since I already found one mistake, let's make sure I don't have another. 0.01 times 152,000. And then that answer divided by 12. Oop, not plus. And yes, 2/3 is 0.67. So that does work. And if you don't want it to show up with fractions in the mode, you can actually have it automatically turn to a decimal instead of the fraction. And right now I would actually kind of prefer that. So now if I do that, oops, I need the 1520 divided by 12. And now it actually gives me the decimal equivalent. Quit flipping. All right, it actually gives me the decimal equivalent to make this easier. All right, so a little tip for how to work through that part. And now monthly homeowners insurance. So the monthly homeowners insurance, letter F here says that it can be approximated by taking 0.35% of the value of the home, and that's a yearly charge that needs to be split over about 12 months. Now, homeowners insurance is different from the common insurance. Common insurance covers literally the brick and mortar, or the siding, if you will, of any place that you're living. The homeowners insurance, you need to actually personally insure your possessions in your home separately. That charge is going to depend on the value of the items in your home. The more valuable your items, the more costly the insurance, but this is about an average amount that people have a tendency to have to pay per month for homeowners insurance. All right, so if I take that 0.35% and I resolve that percent sign by dividing by 100, that's where I'm getting 0.00, whoops, can't see that, 0.0035. Can we see that? All right, now we can see it. And if I take that 0.0035 times that 152,000, and then I divide it over the 12 months, I get $44.33. Now, my total monthly payment over here is actually everything I'm having to pay throughout this. Now, notice that this project did not have a space for homeowners association dues. If you're just buying a standalone house, you don't pay homeowners association dues because there's no homeowners association. You're the only homeowner. But if you own a home that is in the same building as a whole bunch of other people, then you have an association that handles the entire physical structure, if you will. So what I would have to do in order to figure out my total monthly payment, what I'm going to have to pay to live there without any of the other utilities and things, is I have my mortgage payment, I have my monthly property taxes, I have my PMI because I did not put 20% down originally, I have my monthly homeowners insurance, and that comes out to $1,158.32. Then I have my homeowners association dues because I'm looking at a townhome. And so I have to add $257 onto this, which actually brings the total amount coming out of my bank account every month in order to live in this place after buying it as my home to $1,415.32. Ouch. And throughout the entire life of paying that mortgage, if I just take the mortgage and I multiply it by the 360 payments, instead of paying the $152,000 that is considered the value of the home, over time, because I have to pay the interest, I'm actually paying $253,119.60. I'm paying more than $100,000 more than the value of my home over the course of the 30 years that I'm paying it off. Think about that. The home is valued at $152,000. That's 2/3 of the price of that home paid in interest above and beyond the value of the home. All right, so this is the amount of money that I'm actually paying in interest. Now, I also have to pay PMI, which is above and beyond that. Now, generally, I looked up the laws for this. Generally, PMI is automatically dropped after half of the mortgage payments are made. So half of 360 is 180. So if you take the PMI value times 180, a very general rough estimate. All right, this is probably going to adjust over time. This is a very simplistic explanation of this. But generally speaking, I would end up paying another $22,800.60 on top of this. So altogether, I'm paying, let's see, what percent is this? Let's figure that out. Let's actually be exact. So I'm looking at 920.2 divided by 152,000. I'm paying over 80% more for this home than it's worth. I'm paying 181.5% of this house value. That's why the sooner you can pay off your mortgage, the sooner you can get out of debt, the better, because debt costs you money. That's why sometimes people go for 15-year fixed mortgages. Now, if you notice, I switched up my value for my interest rate like I showed you previously. I have that value changed in here along with the number of payments I make, because 15 times 12 again is 180, like I said earlier. Now, if you work through this, you get a $1,056.28 mortgage payment, and then you still have to pay the property taxes and still have to pay the PMI and still have to pay the homeowners insurance. At the end of the day, once you add on the homeowners association dues, you're paying $1,768.49, way more than the 30-year mortgage. Right? There's a big difference in that. But over the full lifetime of the loan, you are paying significantly less in terms of interest. So if you can afford that, it's in your best interests. It also means that 15 years from the time that you buy the home, you actually own it outright instead of 30 years afterwards. Depending on what age you are, that can make a big difference when you're buying a home. If you're 40, 30 years from when you buy the house, you're 70. 15 years from when you buy the house, if you're 40, then you own your home at 55 and you don't have to worry about a mortgage payment anymore. If you're buying a home in your late 30s or 40s, then the 15-year fixed mortgage, if you can afford it, makes a lot of sense because of how it will benefit you later on in life. The 30-year fixed works a lot better for people in their 20s buying a home, because then by the time they retire, hopefully retire, then their home would be paid off. Now, as we move on through the calculations, the thing that changes is the down payment. So if I am putting down 10% of the price of the house, so 10%, 10 divided by 100 is 0.1, times the 152,000 gives me 15,200. So that is my down payment for both of these. And then my interest rate was still the same, so I'm still using that. The number of payments are still the same, but I'm not taking out as big of a loan. Because I put money down up front, I am borrowing less money because I already paid this part of the mortgage. So instead of borrowing $152,000, now I'm borrowing $136,800. So that changes my principal, which is what brings these values down. You can see how just putting 10% down up front drastically changes your values, especially this one. Now, as I'm going through, these values are becoming a bit more affordable, especially if I were doing a standalone home, if I were purchasing a standalone home instead of a townhome and didn't have these HOA dues. It's the HOA dues that seem to get you every time. And in the Chicagoland area, there are a lot of places that have HOA dues because there are a lot of townhomes and just housing developments and housing associations. And again, you can see that as we go through, we end up paying less in interest the more we pay down up front. Now, the best scenario is this 20% down because you don't have to pay PMI, so that saves you that monthly PMI. Ooh, I just noticed a mistake with my work. Ooh, nope, my eyes were playing tricks with me. My eyes skipped this number up to here and I thought I'd made a mistake with my PMI. No, this number is correct. and so is this one, because the insurance is based on the value of the home, not what you borrowed. So that is correct. Whew, thought I had to go back and fix that. All right, so if I'm putting 20% down, that means that I have to be able to lay $30,400 on the table above and beyond the closing cost fees and everything else that goes into actually closing the deal on purchasing a home. There are also one-time payments that you have to make there. So if I put 20% down, that lowers the amount that I'm borrowing, which lowers my monthly payment. I no longer have PMI, that $114 for the 10% down versus the 120 something from the 0% down. I don't have to pay that. So that lowers it even more because I'm adding less into the cost. So for these two scenarios, my principal again has altered. My interest rate has not. My number of payments has not, but that adjusted my totals. Now the monthly property taxes, that's still there. And yes, you do have to pay them. The PMI no longer exists because I put 20% down. Typically, that's the rule. Not always. Each lending institution is a little different, so you want to read the fine print. Never sign a contract without reading every single word and making sure you understand it. Because once you sign on that dotted line, you are responsible for fulfilling that contract, or they can take you to court. All right, now the monthly homeowners insurance, again, the 0.035 times the value of the home, this insurance isn't really changing throughout this. So I'm taking my mortgage payment plus my monthly property taxes plus my homeowners insurance, and that brings my monthly payment up to $891.03. Then I add on the HOA dues, and now I'm up to $1,148.03. And over the lifetime of the mortgage, I would end up paying $80,896.40 more than the actual value of the house. Though over here, it's not nearly as bad. If I could do this, I would do the 15-year fixed, but on a teacher's salary, this is actually, honestly, based on my personal budget, this is the only one that I could really afford. Out of all of these options, this is the one that I could afford with my budget. So for my final analysis, I know it's kind of small, but you can actually see it on Edmodo. If I were to buy it based purely on the lease total interest, then I'd choose the 15-year with 20% down because I would pay only about $30,503.60 in total interest, significantly less than the total interest paid in any of the other options. But if I also consider affordability, then I need to go with a 30-year fixed mortgage plan with 20% down. And it's part 6 where you actually go through, how do I know that this is affordable? You have to take your total, your estimated salary and subtract the amount of tax that you would have to pay. Then divide it by 12 to figure out how much you actually get each month from your salary. Then 28%, I believe it is the highest amount they recommend for you to pay in terms of housing. So 28% of your monthly take-home is the highest they recommend you ever pay for your housing. If you're going over that, you're probably going to have trouble affording utilities and anything else that pops up, like a fridge breaking down or washing machine going out or any of the other little incidentals that happen with life. All right, I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any further questions.